Hello there. I get comments like this all the time, and that's absolutely fine. People have their own political perspectives, and that's really important that you know where you stand and what's important to you when you go out and vote. But this post in particular highlights one real problem that we've got going into this election, and that's confirmation bias. There's very little that can be said to change somebody's perspective because they've already got all the information that they feel they need. And social media algorithms are really good at backing up our confirmation bias. That's how they work. But you can see the clues even in this comment when they blame Te Pāti Māori for things like policy setting, which they don't do because they're not part of any kind of coalition in the government at the moment. They are a party, they're representing people and putting across their points of view and standing up for what they believe in, but they don't set policy and they don't have the power to enact those policies that they do have. So I could sit here and list a whole bunch of achievements that this government has done. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I think they're all absolutely amazing. And I don't think that the government has worked hard on other areas like hate speech or drug reform. But it's really hard to deny some of the successes that they've had, like increasing the minimum wage or the removal of fees from NCEA and New Zealand scholarships, record improvements across all 9 measures for child poverty, 1 million free school lunches a week, the winter energy payment, the restored right to vote for prisoners who are in prison for less than 3 years, historic trade deals with the UK and the EU, improved rural broadband with 300 new cell phone towers, extended Brightline test, which has helped bring down the cost of housing, pay equity for teacher aides, pay rises for nurses and teachers, law changes with the buildings that mean that 1 in every 10 houses in the country at the moment were built under the current government, extra funding for mental health support in schools, the largest funding boost ever for the Department of Conservation. They removed abortion from the Crimes Act. They changed the Criminal Proceeds Act so that they can start taking more money from organised crime and use that to fight organised crime. They restored collective bargaining for the screen sector as well as introducing fair pay agreements. They've lifted the gap on gender affirming surgeries. They've boosted funding to Pharmac. They've eradicated M. bovis from our farms. They got rid of letting fees and no cause tenancy cancellations. They committed $50 million to decarbonising public transport. They've invested more in rebuilds for hospitals than any government in the last decade, free doctor visits for people under the age of 13. They've invested close to $23 billion in wage subsidies, which helped keep the economy afloat during COVID. Largest investment of any government in New Zealand to the growing research and development sector. There was free women's sanitary products in schools. They removed the fees for prescription medicines. They helped the country get to the lowest greenhouse gas emissions output that we've seen this century. They've record low unemployment for 7 quarters, record high wage growth, financial rating of AAA from Standard & Poor's, inflation rates dropping faster here than they are in Australia after record high worldwide inflation, world-leading COVID response that saw the lowest excess deaths per capita of any country in the world. They saw the largest net increase in immigration we've ever seen, 4,000 new nurses, 3,000 new teachers, a 61% increase in apprenticeships over the last 2.5 years, and 50% increase on road maintenance, which was frozen for the 9 years that we had national. All of those achievements are really good. And there is still work that can be done, but confirmation bias makes it really hard for us to see these and accept these as positive benefits for maybe not necessarily ourselves, but for other people. When it comes to the election, we need to make sure we keep an open mind and judge the parties that we want to vote for on what they've succeeded on or what they're actually able to promise.